The nation's capital finds itself in unprecedented turmoil tonight. Military personnel line the streets while concrete barriers surround government buildings. Behind those fortifications, American democracy faces its most severe test in modern history. What we're witnessing isn't conjecture or political theater. This is real-time documentation of presidential authority crumbling before our eyes. Yesterday's courtroom drama has triggered a chain reaction that nobody predicted. Federal authorities forcibly ejected every attorney representing Donald Trump from an active trial. The reason? Systematic deception under oath. These lawyers made 17 false statements regarding correspondence they insisted never existed. Messages proving Saudi Arabia deposited $40 million into supposedly vacant financial accounts. Cameras rolled as law enforcement removed these attorneys and restraints. The images have saturated every media platform beyond denial or manipulation. What followed broke every rule in American judicial precedent. Judge Emmett Ma refused to simply proceed with proceedings. Instead, he executed an action without parallel in federal court history. Every piece of courtroom evidence, sworn statements, audio files, banking records, law enforcement video, was systematically packaged, officially sealed, and delivered straight to Congress with one powerful declaration: evidence of impeachable offenses transmitted for legislative review. That transmission fundamentally altered everything. This wasn't advisory. This wasn't opinion-based. A federal judge operating under constitutional oath formally activated impeachment procedures while criminal prosecution remained ongoing. The Watergate scandal never reached this level. Nixon's administration never confronted this degree of institutional coordination. Clinton's troubles never approached this magnitude of systematic response. Judge Ma's congressional package contained irrefutable documentation, complete trial records proving Trump's legal representatives lied 17 distinct times about financial documentation, the Saudi transaction correspondence that demolished their entire defense strategy, law enforcement footage capturing their courtroom removal. Then came the most devastating material, the recordings that defy explanation. Audio files capturing Jack Smith's investigation, where Trump's voice clearly instructs colleagues to disregard judicial orders. Additional recordings from Letitia James's proceedings, where Trump verbally threatens sitting judges by name. Every syllable time-stamped, every threat preserved, every violation captured in his own words. Congressional preparation was already underway. House Resolution 2353 has existed since April 2025, containing 7 impeachment charges, including financial corruption, authoritarian conduct, power misuse, justice obstruction, congressional contempt, oath violation, and violence incitement. Until yesterday, only 120 lawmakers supported it. Insufficient for passage. Everything transformed the instant those attorneys left the courtroom in custody. Everything shifted when Judge Ma's evidence reached Capitol Hill. This morning's count shows 220 congressional sponsors for Resolution 2353. That represents clear majority control. That's sufficient votes for immediate impeachment. The names joining this list are remarkable: Thomas Massie, Tom Tillis. Republicans who publicly defended Trump mere days ago have completely reversed position. Massie conducted a morning press briefing with one brutal assessment: either resign immediately or face forced removal. He's unfit for command. That's a Republican legislator making that statement about a Republican president. That's the defensive wall collapsing. Representatives Rashida Tlaib and Al Green triggered the 72-hour provision, a procedural tool forcing mandatory floor voting within 3 days. They submitted this motion this morning. By January 11th maximum, the House will vote on Trump's impeachment, 72 hours. That's the remaining time frame. With 220 sponsors already committed publicly, the mathematics are unforgiving. Donald Trump faces certain impeachment. The only remaining question: how many Republicans will ultimately join Democrats in the final tally? And that number continues rising hourly. Republicans who are calculating political advantage are now abandoning their positions desperately. They've reviewed the audio evidence. They've studied the transcripts. They watched Trump's attorneys commit perjury on broadcast television. They recognize they cannot return home and justify this to constituents. Trump's reaction follows his established pattern precisely: continuous truth social posting, capitalized conspiracy accusations, personal attacks against Judge Ma, corruption allegations. Then came the message that triggered emergency protocols across Washington, a direct public declaration threatening civil conflict if Congress removes him, a sitting president threatening domestic warfare in response to constitutional accountability transcends political messaging. This constitutes incitement. This becomes evidence. Every statement he publishes strengthens the case because he cannot restrain himself. He's psychologically deteriorating in public view, and global audiences are observing. The Capitol is now in lockdown mode, military units stationed throughout the city, protective barriers erected around federal facilities, pro-Trump factions shouting about electoral theft, anti-Trump crowds demanding immediate ouster, security forces everywhere bracing for worst-case scenarios. This marks day one. 72 hours remain until the House decision. 3 days of disorder, 3 days of volatility, 3 days for additional evidence emergence, 3 days for further Republican defections. The 3-day countdown isn't merely procedural, it's psychological pressure tactics. Every passing hour without Trump's resignation intensifies the squeeze. Every new Republican defection tightens the grip. Every social media post becomes another prosecution exhibit. Impeachment no longer represents the conclusion. It signals the beginning of complete exposure. Once House impeachment occurs, Senate procedures automatically engage. Trial becomes mandatory. Chief Justice Roberts assumes the chair. House prosecution managers will present Judge Ma's complete evidence package, transcripts, recordings, financial documentation, law enforcement footage, everything under oath, everything officially recorded. Conviction demands 67 votes. That requires all Democrats plus 18 Republicans. That threshold appears steep until you observe current developments. Republican senators from competitive states are viewing this footage and imagining opposition campaign advertisements. Party leadership is enraged by this spectacle. Nobody wants their voting record defending perjury, obstruction, and judicial threats. Even if Trump survives Senate conviction numerically, his political destruction is complete. A president impeached amid overwhelming evidence becomes a president without governing power. Authority once fractured doesn't repair itself. Impeachment isn't Trump's sole threat. Judge Ma's referral extended beyond Congress. Evidence of perjury, obstruction, and witness intimidation has also reached prosecutors. If investigators can demonstrate Trump directed his attorneys toward false testimony, that constitutes suborning perjury, a severe federal offense carrying imprisonment. Multiple grand juries are currently operational in Washington, New York, and Georgia. Criminal charges could materialize while impeachment proceedings continue unfolding. This is constitutional crisis manifesting when every accountability system activates concurrently. Hovering above everything is the discussion nobody desired but can no longer postpone: the 25th Amendment. Intelligence suggests confidential conversations between the vice president and cabinet officials regarding capacity and stability. The 25th Amendment permits immediate removal without congressional voting if a president is determined unable to fulfill duties. Trump could contest it. Congress would ultimately decide. But with impeachment already advancing and evidence overwhelming, the result wouldn't be uncertain. The fact this option receives serious consideration reveals this moment's gravity. The Republican Party is splintering in real time. Loyalists are intensifying commitment. Pragmatists are evacuating. Internal threats are circulating. The party is imploding under Trump's collapse. Internationally, allied nations are disturbed. A U.S. president threatening civil warfare while facing impeachment and criminal exposure isn't standard headline material. Adversaries are monitoring closely, evaluating vulnerability, testing weaknesses. Domestic chaos always carries international ramifications. Currently, America appears unstable globally. Here's the harsh reality many Washington insiders won't yet state publicly. Even if Trump survives Senate trial, his presidency cannot recover. Authority once demolished doesn't return. Every executive directive would face challenges. Every command would face questioning. Governance becomes effectively impossible. That's why contingency planning is occurring everywhere, in Congress, throughout federal agencies, among overseas allies. Scenarios span from resignation to removal to incapacitation. This is constitutional crisis management under maximum pressure. Trump constructed his entire identity believing rules are negotiable and consequences are escapable. What's unfolding now is that belief's systematic destruction, not rhetorically, but procedurally. The system he attempted to control is now methodically crushing him with relentless institutional force. The countdown is genuine. The evidence is secured. The next action belongs not to Trump, but to constitutional process. What transpires across these next 72 hours won't merely determine Trump's fate. It will determine whether constitutional authority still maintains force in the United States. When the House finally conducts its vote, it won't feel dramatic. It will feel predetermined, like the final stage in a sequence already determined by evidence, procedure, and timeline. The question isn't whether impeachment occurs. The question is what remains standing afterward.